Good evening. This is Pastor Bob Uzzle from the Bethel African Methodist Episcopal Church, Corsicana, Texas. For a change, I'm not in my office. We're out of town. Today is June the 3rd, 2020. I hope everybody's having a good day. The 3rd is a special day for many of us. Call ourselves Prince Hall Shriners. Today is Jubilee Day, and some people may never heard of it, but I want to tell you about it too. If you already know about it, great, you'll learn more. If it's something new to you, then more power to you. I've been a Shriner for going on 50 years, and to be a Shriner, see if I can get this lighting correct here. You first have to be a Mason. And the shrine was founded, the first shrine organization, the ancient Arabic order, Nobles of the Mystic Shrine, was founded in 1872 by a physician named Dr. Walter Fleming and an actor named Billy Florence. In 1872 was the year that Mecca Temple in New York City was chartered. And originally one had to either be a 32nd degree Scottish Rite Mason or a Knights Templar of the York Rite in order to join the shrine. In 2000, they opened up the doors of the organization to any Freemason. And the organizations, fraternal organizations, like many other aspects of American society, it's sad to say for many years they were segregated. 1872, the Civil War had only been over 7 years. And it was at a place called Knickerbocker Cottage in New York City that a group of men got together every day for lunch. They would meet at exactly 12:13. That's when they would sit down for their noon meal. And there had to be 13 of them. There couldn't be 12, there couldn't be 14. There was a craze going on about the number 14 and another 13, and it was out of this nucleus that this organization, fun organization, started, in which they would restrict the membership to high-ranking Masons. Going back to 1775 with the initiation of Prince Hall and 14 other African Americans by a British traveling lodge at Boston, African Americans became part of Freemasonry. And for over 200 years, there's been two parallel organizations in which one has been predominantly white, the other predominantly black. And up until 1989, no predominantly white Grand Lodge extended fraternal recognition of Prince Hall. But all that has changed, and it's been a domino effect. And today, the two groups are meeting together in fraternal harmony. And there's still a few holdouts in some states in the South. And my prayer to God is that I live to see this end to the color line in an organization devoted to the fatherhood of God and brotherhood of man. Today's called Jubilee Day because of a very important decision that was handed down on June the 3rd, 1929. You see, as I say, the segregation existed in various fraternal organizations, and including the Masonic Order. It was on Well, it was in 1914 in Atlanta, Georgia, that the first lawsuit occurred. There was a man named Forrest Adair who was a member of the Arab Temple in Atlanta, Georgia. And he, by the way, played a key role in the establishment of the Shriners Hospitals for Children, which is my favorite charity. The man, like all human beings, had contradictions. He did a wonderful thing with the Shriners Hospitals, but his attitude toward African American Freemasons was something totally different. He brought a lawsuit on behalf of the Arab Temple against Raban Temple, the Prince Hall Temple in Atlanta. And this was a series of lawsuits that would go on for the next 15 years. And it got pretty wild for a while. Basically, the white Shriners, based on patent and copyright laws, were determined to put the black Shriners out of business. There were several lawsuits beginning in Georgia. There was also, I believe, some suits in Louisiana and Arkansas. But the big clincher was in Texas, in which, in the city of Houston, Arabia Temple, the predominantly white shrine temple, brought a lawsuit against Doric Temple, the Prince Hall Temple. And again, the purpose was to put them out of business, claiming that based on they had a right to the fez, the scimitar and crescent, and all the different symbols that the nobility used, and that they and they alone should be entitled to it. Well, it was a long battle that took place. And there was a man named Issac Holland from Charlotte, North Carolina, who was the Imperial Potentate for the Prince Hall Shriners at the time. And he led in this lawsuit. On June the 3rd, 1929, Justice Willis Vandervenner for the U.S. Supreme Court wrote the opinion. And by the way, Justice Vandervenner was a Freemason. He wrote the opinion declaring that black men had the right to wear the fez and call themselves nobles of the mystic shrine. After 15 years of litigation at the expense of about $77,000, which would be a lot more in terms of today's figures, our Prince Hall Shriners won the battle in court. They had the right to be what they were. And it all boiled down to a legal concept called laches, L-A-C-H-E-S, that has to do with delay. If you wait too long, this is in equity cases, if you wait too long, you lose your right to file suit in court. And so that's what happened here. At the Prince Hall Shriners had begun in 1893. A couple of days ago, I talked to you about what happened at the World's Columbian Exposition in Chicago, the World's Fair, in which John G. Jones and 13 other African American Masons were allegedly initiated into the shrine by an Arab by the name of Rofelt Pasha of the Grand Council of Arabia. Again, there's a lot of problems with that story. And anybody who's interested in the details, my June 1st video tells all about that. But We don't know exactly what happened there in Chicago, but the organization was founded. The same requirements that the White Shriners had. And so what happened then, the 1894 at the Imperial Council, the Imperial Potentate of the White Shriners, in his national address, made mention of the fact that he knew there were some black Shriners in existence. The White Shriners at the time were the ancient Arabic order, Nobles of the Mystic Shrine. It's now called Shrine International. The Black Shriners, the ancient Egyptian Arabic order, Nobles of the Mystic Shrine. And the concept of latches had to do with delay. 1894 is when the first they were aware that such an organization existed. The first lawsuit was not filed until 1914. That's 20 years, and that's too long to claim a right before the law. And so, based on the concept of latches, on June 3rd, this day, 1929, the Supreme Court ruled that black men had the right to wear the fez and call themselves nobles of the Mystic Shrine. They failed to put Prince Hall Shriners out of existence. In 1913, there had been a similar case involving the Knights of Pythias, in which the Black Knights of Pythias' existence was upheld by the U.S. Supreme Court based on the idea of latches, delay in filing suit. And it's these different fraternal organizations, all of them at one time, it seems, had a color line. Until recent years, African Americans were not admitted to the Independent Order of Oddfellows. I believe that changed in 1971. But way back in the early 1800s, a black sailor named Peter Ogden was initiated into an Oddfellows Lodge in England. He founded the Grand United Order of Oddfellows. For the case of the Knights of Pythias, the report was that some very light-skinned black men were initiated into a Pythian lodge, and then they established their own organization. There was a black man named Arthur Riggs who worked as a railroad porter, a Pullman porter. He allegedly found an Elks ritual on a train. The White Elks were called the Benevolent Protective Order of Elks, and the Black Elks are known as the Improved Benevolent Protective Order of Elks. There was at one time a number of lawsuits between those two bodies. Those days are over now, and thank God for that. I've never been a member of the Elks, but I've always had a great deal of respect for them, and it's my understanding the two Elks organizations get along very well today. And the Loyal Order of Moose and the Fraternal Order of Eagles once had whites only clauses, but they don't anymore. And the two shrine groups get along very well today. But, that was a long time, 15 years to battle in court for the right to exist. Now, someone who thinks that these organizations are a waste of time, and I know people that do, they would think that was a waste of time and waste of money to go through all that to preserve something. But for those of us who believe it's worthwhile, then that's a different story entirely. One could take a different position. It's possible for one, for example, not to really be interested in it, but to see the importance of establishing laws against discrimination. For example, one could be a teetotaler, absolutely oppose the use of alcohol, and still insist that bars not practice racial discrimination. You know, it's, by the way, the elks, the moose, and the eagles all eventually dropped their whites-only clause, and it was after all over the country they were losing their liquor licenses because of their discriminatory laws. So the moral of the story is, if you want to bring about social change, threaten to cut off the booze. It works. But anyway, I wrote an article a number of years ago. It was published in the Philaxis magazine, and called The Great Litigation Revisited. I believe that was back in 1985. And I go into great detail to describe the different cases and how the courts ruled. And June the 3rd, the Sunday closest to June 3rd, is observed by Prince Hall Shriners as Jubilee Day. Various temples meet in churches to celebrate this event. Most of the time it's held on a Sunday morning. And there was, back when I was doing more or less freelance work and didn't have a congregation I was serving, I was able to attend quite a few of those services. In the last several years, because I've been pastoring, I've not been able to do that. This Sunday afternoon, our Jubilee Day service will be live stream, and I'm looking forward to being a part of it. First time in many years. With the pandemic, you know, we really miss being together in person. But some of us have been able to talk with people online we haven't talked with in a long time. And so thank God for modern technology. But this is, again, I think this is very important. Jubilee Day. The right of black men to wear the fez and call themselves nobles of the mystic shrine. That was decided by the U.S. Supreme Court on July 3rd, 1929. And it's my prayer that this will be observed by Prince Hall Shriners until time shall be no more. God bless all of you.